I'm gonna change to speaker view. So finding a comfortable seat. Please close your eyes. And let's take a moment here to center ourselves. And again, for those of you who just joined, this Yin Yoga practice is a very subtle practice. You want to play with your edge. You want to be in a point between A, where you don't feel any sensation, and B, where you feel a lot of sensation. And when I say sensation, it's really like strong sensation, like pain, or your arm falls asleep. And then it's really a sign to back off. It's also a practice that invites us to become still and to let go of our wanting to control everything that's happening each moment, which also means when we are in the poses, we have all kinds of impulses, from physical impulses, from mental impulses, things come into our mind that want to take us out of the practice. Just be aware this is all completely natural, and the reason why we do this practice, to kind of let go of reacting so much to everything that comes to us, and to rather be in a space of being and then responding from this place. And the first sutra, or one of the first sutras, is Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, which translates to yoga is the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. So really the purpose of yoga is to become still and to deal with the mind, which doesn't mean we ever going to make ourselves stop thinking, impossible, but we find ways to guide our mind, and we find tools to kind of make the mind do a little bit more of what we want it to do, or to keep it busy in a good way. Like chanting mantras is one way, focusing on the breath, meditation is one way. And to me, Yin Yoga is a really beautiful way of connecting to the mind and kind of watching and observing all the different ways it's gonna like try to get us. So as I'm talking and you have your eyes closed, really connect to your breath and make your breath really, really, really soft. Just feel the breath coming in and going out naturally. There's no effort in breathing. Really think of receiving your breath. So you're just welcoming your breath. Yin Yoga is very much a practice about being open to receive insights, nourishment, and to get stagnant energy to move. And that stagnant energy can be in our minds, can be in our hearts, can be in our body. So just be open, see what happens today. And feel the breath, where every time you inhale, really opening, expanding. So you're inhaling all the way up into the chest, into all the corners of your body. And every time you're exhaling, you're softening, releasing, and gently drawing the belly back towards the spine, just a little bit. Just to connect to yourself, your body. And see how your body feels right now, the places that your body is really open, receptive, the places where your body feels more stagnant or energy feels stuck. Just become aware. And if you have any intention for today's practice, then please feel free to take a moment here to remind yourself of your intention and what the gift of yoga, and especially Yin Yoga, really is for you. And take your hands together in front of your heart. And for a moment, just notice the warmth of your palms touching, the fingertips touching, the knuckles touching. Or actually, I should say not the knuckles, but the finger pads, the palms, and feel the little space between your palms. And maybe feel your thumbs touching your heart and feeling your heartbeat. Moving into stillness. Take a nice big breath in now and exhale through the mouth. Let's do that again. Big breath in. Even vocally, exhale through the mouth. Let go. And then we'll inhale for one sound of Om, and let's make it a soft yin sound of Om. Nice big breath. Om. And then slowly release and gently open your eyes, and we'll come into the first pose. So I'm going to move back a little bit more so you can see me better. I want to be here. And our first pose is going to be a simple butterfly pose. So for butterfly pose, you can use your blocks or whichever props you have, and see if you want to have your legs wider or maybe further away from you. You know, take some time to really find the position of your legs. For me, it's kind of here, and I can see how different my hips are. You can see that too. So notice which side feels more open. And then place your block in any way that you can rest your forehead. So I need to bring them a little closer. Let your arms rest onto your shins or onto your feet, whatever feels good. Your back can be round. It's totally fine. I'm gonna get my timer. And with the eyes closed, just completely surrender into your breathing. And be aware that when we just start the practice, there might be still a lot of activity in your mind, and just notice. Or maybe it's the end of your day and you've had a really relaxed day and you're already feeling pretty relaxed, then also just enjoy that your mind feels really calm. So either way, take this first pose as a way to connect and drop in. The targeted areas here are the inner thighs. So the line from your inner ankle along the inner knee to the inner groin. And this is your liver meridian. And just feel a nice stretch there. And you might feel also a little bit of stretch in the lower back. But wherever you are, just remain completely still. So the Yoga Sutras are by Patanjali many thousand years ago, and they've been interpreted by many people. And basically, yoga means union, balance. Chitta means mind. Vritti is the mind's roaming tendencies, and Nirodha is mastery. So Patanjali describes the dynamics and the power of the mind by selecting the term chitta. And it means to comprehend, to understand, to realize or experience completely. The fact that the word for mind, chitta, is derived from chitti tells us the mind is both the means of and the conduit for understanding truth in its fullness. Through the mind, we become aware of reality within and without. And so the mind is the repository of all our thoughts, feelings, and memories. And it's the storehouse of our likes and dislikes. So we basically see the world and we see ourselves through the eye of our mind, which means when the mind is clear and peaceful, we see the world as clear and peaceful and maybe a little bit brighter. When the mind is clouded or convoluted, our understanding of the world and our relationship with it becomes equally clouded, not clear. And so our concepts of good and bad, right and wrong, depend on the quality of our mind. And so do our likes and our dislikes. And the quality of our mind in turn also shapes our thoughts, speech, and actions. So this also explains why so often we get triggered in some way and we're just constantly responding, and we're responding out of the story, the concepts in our mind, and out of, you know, the way we are feeling. So if we're in a clear space, in a peaceful space, we of course respond different to life than if we're like in a little cloudy space in our mind. And that's why the practice of yoga is always about mastery and purification, finding clarity of our tendencies of the mind. We have about 1 more minute here. Please fill it with your deep breathing. And then take your last 3 breaths here. And with your 3rd breath, very slowly lift your head first, walk your hands back and come all the way back up to seated. You can then remove your blocks to the side. Bring your hands behind and just gently bring your knees together. And you can bring your feet a little wider and let the knees fall together. And if you feel like, you can also stretch and windshield wiper your legs, which is a nice release. All right. Good. So let's come onto the hands and knees. I want to take us into the next pose by first coming into a little bit of cat-cow to kind of warm up the spine. So as you inhale, you're going to let your belly drop, stick your butt back up. And as you exhale, you draw the belly in and round. And then inhaling, you're arching again. Exhaling, lifting up and back into downward facing dog. We'll do that 2 more times, alternating. So inhale, dropping the knees, looking up. And as you exhale, round your back and come back into downward facing dog. Last time, dropping your knees on the inhale, arching. And on the exhale, lifting up and back, downward facing dog. So stay here for a moment and stretch out your legs. I'm going to come now into one of the poses that is most challenging for me. It might be a really easy pose for you, but somehow this is a tough one for me. We're coming into dragon pose. So I want you to lift your left leg up and shake it out, and then step your left foot forward and drop your right knee down. And if you need any padding underneath your knee, please feel free. And then you can have your blocks. This one we're going to hold only for about 3 minutes because it's quite intense. I'm going to make sure I start the timer. So for the dragon pose, your back leg is just resting. Your toes can press down into the floor. You can walk your left foot a little bit forward, sorry. And then maybe be here on your blocks. Maybe come down. Maybe bring both arms inside. Come down, maybe come onto the outer edge of the foot if you can see. So the foot, I can let the knee fall out to the side. Maybe even come all the way down to the floor, if that works for you. And just feel the stretch in your left groin, but also mostly along the front of your right thigh. And this is your stomach and spleen meridian. If this feels too much, you can also be here and just have your arms on your knee and just rest like this. Okay, so I'm gonna choose the lower version. I'm gonna be here with my arms and completely let my knee fall out to the side and breathe into the right thigh. And we already have half the time, so 1.5 minutes to go. Dragon pose. They don't call it dragon for no reason. For me, it's one of the really intense poses. So feel the stretch, breathe. And remember, exhaling through the mouth is always an option. Pretty good option. And really softening. Remember, you're like letting go of any tension in the shoulders, in the neck. Breathing deeply. And make sure you can smile. "30 seconds left." Feel them with really nice deep breath. Keep the eyes closed, be still. Good. Last 3 breaths. Now to come out of the pose, very slowly press into your hands if you're all the way down and make sure to lift up from your hip. Okay, and then place your hands, slide the left foot back. Maybe take your blocks out for a moment. And then once again, tucking your toes, lift up and back into downward facing dog. Good. And then from here, inhale, lift the right leg up, step your right foot forward, drop your left knee down. Good. So with your right foot forward, you can even like do it like this, press a little bit with the hand against the knee, or you can let the foot fall to the outer edge and then take your blocks. Remember, you can just be here also holding on to the blocks, or be here with your elbow resting on your knee. I don't have so much space in this place that I can be far away, but keep breathing. And we have about 2 minutes left to go. So dragon pose, face is soft. Can you bring the corners of your mouth into a smile? How does it feel when you bring your back toes to the floor? Can you close your eyes and sink deeper and relax into it? A little bit over a minute to go. Deep, deep, deep breathing. Notice also the difference on this side. And again, notice where your mind goes. Let those thoughts travel, but become aware if you're not really in your body in this experience. And then can you bring yourself back to this moment? Let go of any story. Just be here now in your body. Last 30 seconds. Always really happy when I can come out of this pose, but I'm going to do it today with you. Good. Last 3 breaths. Make them really nice and big. Almost there. Good. All right. Press back into your hands to lift up from your hips. Stretch out for a moment. Slide the foot back. Take the blocks out from your mat. And then take a moment here again to come into downward facing dog. Stretching out your legs, bending one knee, pressing the other heel down, and should feel really, really good. And then walk your feet forward and come into a squat for a moment. And you're absolutely welcome to sit on a block if you need to. And you can just let your arms fall forward. And this is a beautiful way to release. So you can let your head go with or without a block and just lean forward. And this is just a little transition pose. So just hanging here, arms reaching forward, and you can take a couple of really nice deep breaths down into your pelvis, into your hips, into your lower back, and just feel the space and how you're releasing with every breath. Good. All right, and then from here, come to sit. Wonderful. So this is good. I'm happy we did this. And we're coming into the next pose. So slide back a little bit so you can see. Legs are straight in front. Remember, in Yin, we're not engaging, so you can let the feet fall out to the side. Left leg is long, and you're going to place now your right knee on top of the left. And we're coming into shoelace pose. And we can all start in this position. And then for those of you wanting to go deeper, I'll give you a little more challenge in a bit. But let's say for the first minute or so, we'll all stay here, and you can place a block or pillows on your knee so that you can rest here. You might feel a pretty strong stretch along the back of your left leg. You might feel it in your lower back. So again, don't look for too much sensation. Definitely, if something is painful, back off. And rather than looking for sensation by stretching deeper, see if you can go deeper by breathing deeper. This is really a much more gentle way to expand your range of motion and flexibility. So if you are happy here, then you're welcome to stay here, shoelace, half shoelace. If you feel you would like to go deeper and take it more into the outer hips, you can also bend the left knee, and now you're gonna have both knees on top of each other and the feet goes out to the side. Maybe you need to sit on a blanket or a pillow, and then you can either stay here seated, or you can walk your hands forward and maybe come into full shoelace pose. And we have about 3 more minutes here. And if this is nice for you, you can maybe even rest your chin onto your knee And make sure you let your shoulders relax, face is soft. Now here you feel the stretch more in the outer hip, glutes. So breathe, relax, eyes closed. So both the sage and the demon within us are the products of our mind. A luminous mind enables us to see and embrace the immortal, omniscient being within, while a dark mind or a mind darkened by ignorance entangles us in the long chain of birth and death with constant experiences of pleasure and pain. In other words, we shrink when the mind shrinks, and we expand when the mind expands. But in all circumstances, the mind's inherent virtue, which is self-awareness, remains intact. So no force can ever rob the mind of its capacity to know and experience the reality within and without. So the mind has the ability to comprehend the object of cognition, the process of cognition, and itself as the cognizant force. Because it has the ability to know its own essence, its powers and its privileges, it is known as Buddhi, the force and the conduit of illumination. And because the mind is aware of the object of thought, the process of thinking, and itself as the agent of thought, it is known as manas, that which thinks. Because the mind has the ability to take on the qualities and characteristics of the object of its thought, it is known as ahamkara, the faculty of self-identification. However, the mind's most distinctive attribute is its ability to know its own presence, its pure nature. Its discerning power is limitless, and it can flow inward or outward. So this I was reading from a book about the Yoga Sutras by, who is it? By Pandit Rajmani T. Gunite. He's the teacher of my teacher, Rod Stryker. So, and I've been picking up this book again. So we have 30 more seconds here to be still and feel the pose. Maybe exhale through the mouth. Good. To come out of the pose slowly, walk your hands back if you've been leaning forward. Sit back. Remember which leg was on top. Straighten your legs out in front of you and just kind of move the legs. And take your hands to kind of like massage the outside of your legs, the inside of the legs, and also your glutes. Good. And when you feel ready for the other side, you can bring your left knee on top of the right. Same thing for the first minute or so. We remain in this pose all together, and you can place a block underneath your forehead and just relax the shoulders and close the eyes and find stillness again. So just becoming or remaining present and still. Make sure the right foot is not engaged. Dropping in, stillness, being. And those of you wanting to do the full shoelace, you can now bend the right knee and make sure I always sit on a pillow that's both sit bones are on the floor. And then maybe it's available to you to come all the way forward, resting your shin on the knee. If that is too much, you just stay seated, that's totally fine. Just keep the eyes closed. This is called full shoelace pose. Despite this innate capacity to rule the objective world and to explore and master the vast universe within, the mind suffers from lack of confidence in its own abilities. This is because in the course of our personal evolution, the mind has become heavily influenced by the subtle impressions of our past deeds and experiences. Those deeds and experiences are contaminated by likes and dislikes. They carry all the feelings of anger, hatred, jealousy, greed, love, lust, pity, compassion, and cruelty. And every deed and every experience contains traces of doubt, fear, regret, and guilt. And these feelings accompany every segment of our memory. And so all these memories are deposited deep, deep in our mind. And we call them mental impressions, samskaras. And these memories agitate our mind from deep within. I mean, I'm sure you sometimes surprise yourself how you respond to something out of the blue with a really strong reaction. But propelled by these impressions, the mind thinks and acts. Impressions and the thoughts and actions propelled by them are endless. That is why we find our mind constantly chasing one object after another. It has almost forgotten how to be still and be aware of its thoughts and actions. When awake, the mind is in service of the senses, busily collecting pleasant sensory experiences and avoiding painful ones. During the dreaming state, it busies itself with its own fabrications. And when it is asleep, the mind casts a blanket of unawareness over its intelligence and busies itself holding on to that blanket. These incessant mental activities further reinforce the subtle impressions. So this creates an ever-increasing momentum, and the mind just becomes more and more entangled. And this is why we do yoga, to kind of unwind this entanglement and to give the mind some clarity and rest. Thirty more seconds on this side. And then take your last big breath and press into your hands to slowly come back up and to straighten the legs. And take a moment to put your hands back and lean back and just notice the release of energy in your legs before you even start shaking them. And then use your hands, and once again, do a little massage along the inside, along the outside. Good. And then once again, come onto your hands and knees. And let's just move a little freely. So maybe make a figure 8 or anything that feels good. Let your hips just kind of guide you, moving around, whatever feels good. And in the other direction, stretching out. Maybe another couple of cat cow. Good. All right, and then we're ready for the next pose. And this is going to be the swan. So I'd like you to bring your right knee outside of your right wrist. Now for this one, we call it swan because Yin Yoga is a different energy. You know it as pigeon in Vinyasa. And for this one, if your body wants to fall out to the side, it's totally fine. You can also, if you feel like it's really a tough one for you, feel free to place a blanket or a pillow underneath. If it really, really bothers your knee, I'll show you the modification. You're gonna bring your right foot above your left knee and you're just gonna hold on here and just draw the knee closer to you and kind of rock a little bit over to the left, get a deeper stretch in the right side. So this is the modification. If you are okay in swan, then just press into your fingertips and lengthen, and you feel a stretch all the way even along the front chest. And these lines are your stomach and spleen meridian. Take another big breath here. And when you exhale, slowly walk your hands forward and come into the sleeping swan. And just enjoy as best as you can. This is often a pose that triggers a lot of thought and emotion and sensation. So really try to be fully present. We're going to be here for 5 minutes, so quite some time. But just listen to your body and follow the adjustments that your body wants to make. So maybe rolling onto the side, or maybe you could also place, which might be really nice, some people really love it, you could place a block underneath your sternum and be here. Have another block underneath your head. You could use a pillow and place it underneath your chest. So whatever feels good. And then close the eyes and breathe and sink in. So Patanjali calls these mental operations vrittis, mental tendencies in motion. And these tendencies affect the mind in various ways. They can be disturbing, stupefying, or distracting. They can make the mind one-pointed and can lead it to a point where it is free of all thought constructs. In this context, Vyasa identifies 5 distinct states of mind. And each of these states causes the mind to function differently. The mind is disturbed because deep within the elements of attachment, desire, anger, fear, and doubt are active, and the mind is operating under their influence. The mind is stupefied, dark, dense, and dull because deep inside the elements of worry, grief, dejection, and hopelessness are active and have rendered the mind inert. The mind is distracted because disturbance and stupefaction are mingled with enthusiasm, courage, motivation, clarity, and purposefulness. And all these elements are randomly active. And as a result, the mind is partly focused and partly dissipated. I mean, it is really fascinating to me when we look at like habits and repetitive thoughts and how to change them. And I'm really fascinated to learn more about neurological ways of shifting patterns of the mind. There's so much going on. It's so fascinating. But then it's also good to like let all that theory, all that philosophy go and to just feel. So you can also let my words just float by and have your own experience or your own kind of world to dive into in your yin practice. You have a little bit more than a minute to go. Keeping your face soft, lifting the corners of your mouth into little smiles. The last 30 seconds here. I feel it goes really fast today. Can't believe we do these leg poses. All right, last 3 breaths here. Make them nice and big. And then to come out of the pose, very gently walk your hands back, roll over onto your right side and just stretch your legs in front and shake them out. Good, lots of work with the legs today. Now, when you're ready for the other side, swing your right leg back, bring your left knee outside of your left wrist and check in with the left side. Maybe the left side needs something completely different. For me, for example, my knee is always a little sensitive on the left. So you can fall onto the left side, you can be more square. You can do the modification lying on your back, bringing your left foot above the knee. If you're doing the full pose, come up first onto fingertips so you really feel the length, the stretch along the front of the body. Take a nice big breath, exhale through the mouth. And then walk your hands forward. Find your way of resting. Remember, blocks underneath the chest are a nice idea. Anything that helps you to surrender. Closing the eyes. So the mind becomes one-pointed when the elements of purity, clarity, and peacefulness are active deep within. Acting under the influence of these elements, the mind regains its power of illumination, sattva. It glimpses its own inner luminosity. As its attention focuses on its luminous nature, it regains confidence in its unique powers and privileges. A one-pointed mind is stable. It no longer grieves over the past, nor worries about the future. The elements of disturbance, stupefaction, and distraction have been put to rest. The mind is serenely active and flowing peacefully inward. And now the practice of yoga in its truest sense has begun. As yoga practice deepens, the experience arising from it becomes increasingly refined and profound. Finally, the mind acquires such a high degree of purity, clarity, and perfection that it is as brilliant as pure consciousness itself. And all the subtle impressions are reabsorbed, and we are absolutely free of the mind's roaming tendencies. And according to Patanjali, this state is yoga. So it's a journey, and sometimes we get into these clear states more easy. Sometimes it's much more challenging, but the goal of yoga is always to remind us this is why we're doing it. To become aware of the mind and the tendencies of the mind, and to have tools to work with the mind so we have a little less suffering in our life. And we're just a little less reacting on every thought, every emotion, every sensation. And there's clarity to make choices. So we have another minute about here. Breathe deeply. And take your last 3 breaths. And with your 3rd breath, slowly walk your hands back. Swing the right leg all the way around and turn the other way. Straighten your legs in front of you and shake them out. Good. And use your hands again, massaging. And then come to lie on your back. And hug the knees into your chest and just rock a little bit back and forth. Place your hands on top of the knees and move the knees in circles away from each other. And then move them the other way around towards each other. And then place the feet to the floor and take your block, whatever you have. And 2 options, you can place it kind of flat underneath your sacrum. Sacrum is at the end of your spine, the triangular shaped bone, and you can just be here. Or you could bring the block a little higher and be here. Whichever way you choose, you can keep the knees bent, or another option would be to straighten one leg or to even straighten both legs. So a couple of options. When you straighten both legs, it can really pinch your back, so be careful with that, but it gives you a nice opening and stretch along the front of your groins and your hips. If it hurts your back, just back off. And just enjoy to be here with the block supporting you and the shoulders being relaxed, face soft, chest nice and open. So you decide. I put the timer, and this is one of the shorter poses, so maybe 2 minutes here. Breathing deeply. And again, maybe one leg straight, maybe both legs straight. And just breathing into the spaces you like to nourish and open. So the breath goes down into the belly, into the hips, and goes up into the chest. Face completely relaxed. From here, wherever you are, as long as your block is underneath your sacrum, you can bend the knees, bring the knees to your chest, and then straighten the legs up into the sky. And you feel a really nice release of your back into the block. You might have the block even at the edge of, your lower back at the edge of the block, and that feels really nice, like almost giving a little massage. Your knees can be slightly bent, so it's really more about gravity, releasing your back into the floor, into the block. Maybe another 30 seconds here. Good, and then from here, very slowly bend the knees, place your feet back down, lift your hips up, remove the block, and come to sit and just move your knees a little bit side to side. Good. Hug the knees into your chest and rock yourself all the way up to seated. We have one more pose to kind of close the circle with the legs. I'd like you to take the flesh out from underneath, and we're gonna do caterpillar pose. So you're gonna, again, let the feet fall out to the side. This time there's a little bit of space between your legs. You can take your blocks, put them as high as you want, rest your arms. If it's too much and you feel like you're not getting anywhere leaning forward, you could also come to lie on your back with your legs up the wall, which is also a really nice release. And wherever you are, your back is totally fine to be round here. Your legs relaxed, your shoulders relaxed, your face soft. Just breathe. And you can, if you like, also use the Bumblebee Breath, the Bumblebee Breath, which is really nice. I like it in this pose as you're folding forward and we can't hear each other anyway. So if you want to give it a try, it's basically on your exhale, you're making the sound of a bee. It's like, really nice to clear the throat. So that's an option you have. We'll be here for 3 more minutes. Just enjoy, soften. And notice if your mind is traveling, bring it back. This moment, your breath, maybe your bumblebee breath, the sensations in your body. Last minute here. I really love this pose for the ability to really visualize your spine and all the vertebrae and the space you're creating with every breath. Last 30 seconds. Good. With your next inhale, slowly start by rolling up from your head. Come back up, release your props, and once again, come to lie on your back, hugging the knees into the chest, rocking a little bit back and forth, side to side. Now bring your feet up for happy baby pose. Grab the outside of the feet, bring the knees outside of your arms, and just rock a little bit side to side, and just see if you can keep the lower back sacrum connected to the floor. Good. And then release. Hug the right knee into the chest. Straighten your left leg all the way to the floor. For a moment, lift your head towards your knee. Release the head back down. And then take your left hand outside of the right knee and let the legs fall over to the left. Look over your right shoulder. Nice, easy twist. So be careful if your back feels a little sensitive. Don't go too deep. And breathe into the back. And then inhale to come back to the middle. Once again, hugging both knees into the chest. And then stretching your right leg long. Left knee hugged in. Lift your head for a breath or two. And then slowly release. Right hand on the outside of the left knee. Let the legs fall over to the right. Look over your left shoulder. Breathe here. And then come back to the middle. If you feel there's anything else you need to do before Shavasana, feel free to do it. Maybe once again, rocking a little bit back and forth. And then when you feel ready for Shavasana, find your way into Shavasana. Maybe place blocks or a rolled up mat or blanket underneath your knees, which feels really nice. And then turn your palms to face up. Take a nice big breath in and exhale through the mouth. Just relax your whole body. The whole body is relaxed. And then from here, slowly begin to deepen your breathing. And gently move your fingers, move your toes. Stretch your arms over your head. And gently hug the knees into your chest. Roll over onto your left side, your yin side. Stay here for a couple of breaths. No rush. And then when you feel ready, slowly find your way up into a comfortable seat with the eyes still closed. I want to just do a very gentle breathing exercise with you here. So as you're sitting tall, become aware of your breath. And then we're going to do a visual Nadi Shodhana alternate nostril breathing. So you visualize your breath going in through the left nostril, crossing over the bridge of the nose, and exhaling through the right nostril. And then you feel the breath going in through the right nostril, crossing over the bridge of the nose and exhaling through the left nostril. You start on the left again and you keep going, just visualizing how the breath is moving over the bridge of the nose, rising and falling. Do this a couple more times, nice and slow. And then become aware of a little presence above the bridge of the nose, the third eye spot between the eyebrows, and maybe you'll feel some kind of point there. It's almost like the observer watching you and watching the breath going up and down and back and forth over the bridge of the nose. Just become aware of this presence. And then bring that from your third eye into the center of your chest, your heart. Imagine it being a nice white or golden light, just radiating out into your upper body. And then drawing the line from your heart along the spine down into your navel and to the seat, the point of your perineum, like where you are connected to the floor, and giving you a sense of really calm grounding. And so feel how the yoga brings us always from a busy mind into the body. A sense of grounding, a sense of coming home. And feeling anchored again, connected again. Take your hands together in front of your heart for a moment of gratitude to yourself for your practice today, the nourishment you've received, and all the teachings that have been passed on for thousands of years. Let's close and seal our practice with one soft sound of Om. Nice big breath. Om. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wish you a beautiful rest of your day, rest of your evening, and if you're about to go to sleep soon, sweet dreams and a beautiful restful sleep. Thank you so much. Namaste. Thank you, guys.